1% every day can be a step, right? Just progress. It doesn't have to be a massive leap across. It can be a little incremental step. Take a step, do something. Like, no one can make you. So if you can't leap, then tiptoe, right? If you can't tiptoe, crawl, freaking go. You said long ago you'd show up to do it. So if you already said you'd show up to do it and the situation needs you to now get off go, brother, it's fulfill your promise or get out of the way.
Yo, this is the Streetwise podcast, where we help you level up your game, level up your leadership, and level up your life. I'm your host, Matthew McReynolds. I'm a multi-brand franchisee, and I'm a franchise consultant, which means I help people find, launch, and build their ideal franchise business. My main goal is to help you get off of zero and become the person that your dreams need you to be. Buckle up, get your popcorn ready, let's go. We just rock with it. But man,
life happens.
Kristopher Stuart, Bloomin Blinds, tell me where you're at right now. Where are you physically located? You were just telling me offline. Yeah, let me see it.
So that's part storage, and what that's going to be is a manufacturing facility. So that's coming online by Q4.
That's awesome. Tell me about what benefits did that provide to you guys and your entire system, all the way down to your franchisees. And a lot of these people don't even know what we're talking about yet. Don't worry, folks. Right. We're gonna break this all down, but we start at the top and we're working backwards. So yeah, what value is having this warehouse going to do for your system?
It's an industry authority piece. It gives us a manufacturing knowledge base and how products made are worked, how they're assembled, a level of knowledge that nobody else will be able to have and be able to compete with. Sorry, my son's calling on FaceTime, so he clicked off. Sorry, buddy, I hit you up. So yeah, it gives us an opportunity to engage the industry at a higher level, at a supplier warehousing level. That also gives us the capacity to engage other products for manufacturing. There's another technologically advanced product, we'll leave it at that. That is also going to be that last third of the space down at the end. That being able to be a manufacturer and distribution point for our franchisees. It gives a direct advantage over any other brand in the space for them to offer in their local market, and then also for us in the franchising space and as an industry play. Our whole angle is to establish industry authority. So when somebody asks, who knows about window coverings, the first people they go to is their local Bloomin.
Love that. Okay, so explain the industry to me. Like, we're talking Bloomin Blinds right now. Window coverings. Explain that. A lot of people, when they think, still to this day, man, it's 2024. We're talking franchise ownership. People still think food. Their mind does not automatically go to window coverings. Maybe explain to me and the listener real quick about the industry and what you guys are trying to accomplish over there.
Yeah, it's a home services. It's in the home services sector, and we really focus on the services side of it. The products are the products. The manufacturers make those very, very well. We're about to become one of those for a handful of different SKUs, which is a point of pride that we've achieved that success point in the industry. But we're looking at a educational component to the homeowner. You as a homeowner just waltzed in, you're in your home for a couple weeks, the sun in the living room, you don't know how to deal with it. You got a couple products at Lowe's, they didn't do what you wanted, don't want to waste money again. Let's ask an expert. And that's where we come in, is that expert guidance counselor, if you will, in the window covering space. We're all selling the same products effectively. But the difference is how you solve the customer's problem with it. And that's where Bloomin becomes a differentiator. And that's why the manufacturing play really gives us that extra knowledge base to be the expert in the home that any other provider or dealer wouldn't have.
Nice. So when I got to come hang out and kick it with you guys, as a consultant, I got to see behind the curtain a little bit, which was pretty cool. You basically taught me how your franchisees go through the system and learn, and you taught me the variety of different parts that go into the window coverings mechanism. And so are you guys basically like, you guys are building those parts now? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, so remember the headrail assembly? We're going to be manufacturing a motorized version of a headrail assembly. So it's with one of our strategic partners, Somfy. We've actually taken over manufacturing from them for a handful of the SKUs that they offer direct to market. So we're manufacturing to the entire industry, not just our dealer network. So from a brand exposure standpoint, it puts us in front of all the other dealers as a look who's in every sector of our field. And there's Bloomin again. There's Bloomin again at the industry trade shows, at the partnership level with the trade organizations, in the manufacturing space. So it's the long-term play to create value in their market for the franchisee. This is a zero-sum game, really. This is a long-term play for the brand. We're not trying to become a manufacturer. It's a angle that benefits the brand and the franchisee from a value perspective, which takes longer to develop and play. And I think that's our responsibility as a franchisor, is to take on those bigger lifts for the collective that the individual store owner can't, right? That is franchising, right? That's the click responsible franchising going right now. That's us, is to do our freaking job the way we said we did when we promised we would.
Come on, man. You gave me a nice little cut up early. I love it. Yeah, no, that's cool, man. That's really cool. Do you have to get to a certain size as a system in order to be able to like logically make that sort of a shift and a leap? Like, how do you facilitate that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a capital requirement that you have to be able to facilitate. Okay. So there's a success level, but there's no barrier to entry from a scale perspective to get into manufacturing, but there is a knowledge capacity that's necessary to do it and minimize risk.
So let's talk about that, man, if you don't mind, because something about you guys that I love a lot of things about y'all's brand, from what I know about your team, and at the actual concept itself. I personally think it's a pretty cool thing. But tell me about like the experience in the industry. You guys have a pretty cool story that I think the audience can take. Yeah, hit me with that real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so Mom started the company back in '93, doing it by herself in Washington State. We were all in high school at the time, so Mom was doing her own thing. Parents had always been entrepreneurs, and that was just her latest thing there. And so come 2001, post-divorce, looking to get out of Dodge, she came down to Texas. And on 9/11/2001, the Texas Comptroller stamped our papers as approved, and that became the Bloomin' brand anniversary on 9/11.
Wow.
Kind of from that turmoil of what that was, we started building a brand just on repairs and doing just basically doing good business. Like, as dealers would send us referrals, we'd send them the sales back to them so they'd continue to send us more repair work. So we weren't biting the hand that was feeding us. And eventually we just grew to the point where that became foolish. And so we started capturing those sales, and those dealers that had recommended us previous weren't upset. They were happy that we had grown and were championing us in the market. So we made a lot of friends, and we just grew it up. I think we cleared just under $3 million, or right around that mark, as a retail mom and 3 sons and a handful of employees operation here in the DFW area. And then started franchising in 2014, really started hitting stride in 2018-19 space and figuring it out. And then COVID hit. And that was a real fast lesson in all eyes on me. Like, everybody looking at me to keep the ship floating and going. I've said it somewhere before, but we had a stack of credit cards all in personal names, around near $400,000 in personal credit cards that we were like, Scorpion, if you want to get paid, you're taking a credit card today, bud. Like, because we figured that's what we were going to have to do to keep the ship running, because I can't ask my Z's to pay a royalty or all their fees when they have no revenue because the world shut down. So that's what the pressure was, right? Like, that's responsible franchising, is you said you would, now take the shots. And shit. Yeah. So the shots came, but we didn't need it. Business was great. Like, if your city was open, we found loopholes in the ordinances. At the time, I was writing ordinances for the fire department, so I knew the thus and the shall on the power of those words on a legal document. So people were sending their ordinances to me. I was highlighting them and sending them back to them. Like, here, put this on your front seat. You're an essential worker in 7 different ways. So, and all they needed was one to qualify to go back to work.
Sure.
And so, business went through the roof for home services. If you were willing to go work and you weren't scared of the pandemic, there was gobs of money out there. Mosquitoes, like you guys felt, everyone was outside, right? I'm sure that was huge for y'all.
We blew up that year, 100%.
Amen. Learned a lot. right? Hope
Yeah.
probably spent a lot in marketing, but made it in revenue.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was really became, okay, this is what it means. And then got re-involved with Franchise Fastlane, who we couldn't afford previous, right? Like we didn't have the capital to engage the broker networks and not have to spend every nickel of our franchise fee to do it, right? Like robbing Peter to
So
pay Paul.
that's super interesting right there. So Franchise Fastlane is an FSO, or a franchise
Yep.
sales organization, that a lot of different brands will use these FSOs in order to expedite or streamline their franchise sales process. Because
Yep.
for those of you who don't know, when you have a business and you decide to franchise it, you're basically creating multiple businesses now within your business. You have the operation side, you have the franchise sales side, but you also have the franchise operations side that I think gets kind of downgraded and downplayed sometimes, when that,
Yep.
in my opinion, at this point in life, in summer of 24, is arguably the most important piece when you decide to franchise a business. And yeah, when people start, you're probably not as prepared structurally, and you get a lot of these brands that go straight to the FSOs and blow up, but they might not have the capital or the operational capacity
Yep.
to sustain a strong franchise system. And so that's really interesting. What was it in your life cycle, in the life cycle of the business, where you guys as a group decided, oh, we're ready to go with an FSO now? Do you remember like what was going on?
Yeah, we
Tell
needed.
me about it.
We were waiting for capital. So back in 2019, we had talked to Franchise Fastlane, and
Okay.
they had effectively vetted us through their approval process. And then it became a capital question. Couldn't afford the memberships in the networks. We just couldn't afford to do it the way that it would at the professional level, because that's what they are. They're professional sales org. Should be called PSOs.
Oh yeah.
They haven't applied to French, but they are
That
absolutely
is,
professionals in every sense. And that has a pay to
yeah.
play aspect to it. And I think where a lot of franchisors go wrong, and it ends up unfortunately sometimes falling on the FSO, is they accept those terms and that thinking, that risk tolerance, thinking that they're going to sell enough to cover those expenses. Like we'll make it up on the back end. And at the end of the day, you got to have it up front. Like you got to pay cash for that. If you finance it, I mean, it can't be your franchisee's money at the end of the day.
That's wise, right? Because a lot of those franchise fees, they go straight to the broker network. So as a founder, you're not really keeping, a lot unless you get organic leads. But I say what you just said, I think is an important sentiment for franchisees as well, the individuals that are going in and actually purchasing the rights to operate the franchise in their local market. A lot of these individuals are coming in with X amount of dollars, and the franchise requirement is X amount of dollars. And just because they have barely enough, they think they'll be okay to go and take out a $500,000 loan on some of these business opportunities. And I do my best from personal experience, but also what I'm learning as a consultant. I mean, you need to have that base minimum plus a significant amount of money, and that extra money is going to be your risk tolerance. But I advise everybody that'll listen to me, you need to have more than that base minimum. You just set yourself up for a tough situation. Yep. It's so easy to run out of money when you're launching a new thing or trying to expand, with which back to you, franchise organization.
Yeah, so we didn't do it the way most do. At that stage in the game, most are usually either private funded through PE or some platform brand or something that have additional resources somewhere else, or they're gambling. They're just straight up gambling, right? They're doing that rob Peter to pay Paul and hoping they sell 2 to 3 a month to get it done. And I think
with the franchisees' money.
Yeah, when COVID hit, we were royalty sufficient already because it was just Kelsey, Kevin, and myself. Our overhead was 52 franchisees in operation. Our overhead was one facility and 3 brothers and mom. Mom gets salary too. She's the 4th owner. And so our overhead was extremely low. So through that success of COVID, we were able to take all those revenues and just basically bury them in a hole. So come out the end of COVID, SBA is offering effectively free financed money. So now we have all of our own equity, all of our destiny, all of our own risk applied to the same initiative that we asked our franchisees to do, right? And so we took all that profit we made through COVID and basically buffaloed it and, headlong into the storm so it ends faster.
Let's go.
Come into the next, talk to me again Q1 of next year. And I mean, we may find ourselves in a similar position. And it's because we just
that's awesome,
straight back, and we're able to drive our own ship. And there was no board. We were able to keep it pure because there was no profit, no number that we were chasing that we had to sacrifice some of us to get to. We were able to keep all of us and then let the numbers fall as they may. And they always felt positive. So we kept going.
That's very interesting, man. And you guys, so obviously you've got a ton of industry experience. I mean, you guys have built this business for decades, man. And so from a systems perspective, operations perspective, support perspective as founders, you guys got that. You got that in the bag. Something that I liked that we haven't talked about yet is the culture of your organization. And when I was there, and I'll say before you go, I make sure you know this, that I did already interview Kelsey. His episode is going to drop very soon. And the whole brothers aspect and the way you guys make decisions and your defined roles in the business is beautiful to me. I'd love to hear it from you. Like, this might be a new audience hearing it for the first time. So walk me through the culture of the organization and how you guys work together in order to push everything to the North Star.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it has to be your second, right? Everybody takes the best place you'll accomplish in the hierarchy of our infrastructure is position number 2. Because position number 1 is always somebody else. In our case, as a brand, it's the Z. In their case, it's the customer. In Kelsey's case, to the consultant network, right? You're the customer, right? And so franchising, everything we do is an external outlet. Somebody's always, the only one exempt is the consumer. But supplier, consultant, ZOR, Z, everybody has an external output that is depending on them for success. So when you view it and you frame it that way, you're never first. You're always second to something or somebody else. So if you're always of that servant attitude or of service, like I think franchising is a service industry as a whole, as a business model.
Come on, man.
It makes it really easy to say, do the right thing, and then stand back and watch them go, okay, it's not for me, it's for them. Here's the analysis. Bam, there's the output. And it's like AI. You give it enough training, enough fine tuning, and then you let it run, and it's exponentially more productive and effective than it was without it. And honestly, that came from the fire department. That's decentralized command. You send guys on a task and they'll get it done, and you trust them and you respect their efforts and training that you were part of beforehand. Put them on mission and let them eat.
So we'll talk about the fire department, but I can't let you jump me too fast, man. So explain to me the 3 brothers and what your guys' role are and how you each kind of like lead your own very specific path within the greater picture.
I'm the operations guy, so I love the processes and SOPs, and we'll reference that later. But very defined protocols. If this, then what? And if we could prep that in advance, then it makes the next step always predictable. You're always ahead. All right. Kelsey's our chief revenue officer, chief executive officer previous. That'll come out in a PR update later.
Yeah, he told me that. I learned that I got to spend a lot of time with him in Memphis, coming back from the conference. And again, man, he blew my mind talking about some of the stuff you guys are doing. So
we're professionalizing our business, right? And so Kelsey's going to become our chief revenue officer, where he's going to handle everything that's transactional with our vendors and contract management, with consultants and managing the consultancy networks and doing the sales and having those relationships. And that's his focus. So mine is in the franchising realm. I love the IFA, I love the IFA and everything they do.
Interesting.
Strong advocate and supporter. We had Matt Holler as our keynote speaker at our family reunion.
That's neat. Yeah.
Had their branding proud positioning, just so our franchisees knew our level of commitment to that effort and participation in the cause. So that's my realm and kind of where I kind of spend my time. My friends mostly are at. Kelsey handles the consultants and he has the most relationships in those worlds. And Kevin's our product guy, he's our chief technical officer. And his experience has been in the repair and the anatomy of these products for so long. He's just been elbow deep in them for almost 25 years.
He's like a surgeon with it, man.
It's like it's a Rain Man with blinds with a better personality. No, he knows it that well. And so he's helping build our AI with all of his knowledge, downloading it into the AI to fine tune that model. So when Tim takes over doing our technical support for our franchisees 24/7, he has all of Kevin's extrapolated knowledge to build off of. So it was the roles God built our lives into and our personalities around, and that life just nestled us into these very not ruts, but lanes that we could switch lanes every now and then. But I belong in lane 2. Kelsey belongs in lane 1, Kevin in 3. And if I need to, I can get to 3 and come around, but I belong in 2. I need to get back there. Kelsey in 1.
Sure.
And so we've always been able to do this kind of co-blending of task management without overlapping responsibility assignment. And that's all it is. It's just task management. And it's very tactical, effective, small unit tactics. My hobbies and my heroes really are like special operations communities and the mindset that drives those teams. Not so much the individuals, certainly, but that's a different conversation. But the viewpoints that makes every one of those organizations so elite is just that ability to self-analyze and self-critique and be so transparently honest and an after-action debrief that you can't do anything but improve. And so there's never good enough. There's always the pursuit of perfect, knowing that it's unattainable, but I can get it faster. I can get it better. I can get it more accurate. Whatever it is, there's something to improve on.
Better every day. Yeah. We're never quite there. So let me ask you this. Has the way you guys make decisions, like executive decisions with the vote, has that changed in any way? Will it have to, as kind of you're making pivots in the organization and you had a new CEO head? Like, explain that to me. How does all that work now? Are you there yet? Have we figured it out?
Yeah, it's always been a board, but it's actually getting structured as now. And so it becomes tactical decisions should stay at the tactical operations level, where the man on the ground who has the most information should be the one responsible for that decision making. It should fall in line with the overall strategy of the brand and the business and that. And if we do our job right, have a collective strategy that everybody buys into, then it's very easy to manage the tasking because everybody references that strategy for the should I shouldn't die or I can't die. And then that's where you build the efficiencies in the individual operators of whatever their assignment is.
Got it. No, that's really cool. And I like the professionalizing of structure. And as you grow, that's the piece that a lot of people miss out on, and ego gets in the way. And so it's just another check in y'all's kudos box, man. I think it's important to build in that way.
I mean, we went through it too. We went through all the same feelings of, imposter syndrome and then, pride of not wanting to release the power that we've actually got effective in. And then now what will someone else do with the brand we built? And we absolutely went through all that. But again, back to that, if we're not first and this is what we promised our franchisees to do, then we have to get out of the way and let it continue to scale, right? Everyone says the one that got you there may not be the one that'll get you there. Or got you here, there, right?
Facts,
so
yeah.
If we can all answer that nod in agreement, then when it comes that decision-making time, if you're not in agreement when someone says it, right, then the only choice you got is to get the hell out of the way and let professionalization and scale happen. And that's the best thing we could ask for. That's what we realized is, good job, guys. Like, we've created something that we can step to a different seat on the bus. Still doing the same thing, but open up other seats for better, more effective individuals. Like, that's a good thing. That's not a point of diminishment or deficit. Like, that's awesome. That's what we promised. Like, that is
delegate to elevate.
Scale. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, that's awesome. But man, no one talks about the road between, okay, I'm going there and okay, I'm here. right? The ability, everyone wants to delegate long before they have the tools to delegate to.
Interesting. So what happened? Like, how did you guys know that it was the right time to make a shift? Like anything pertinent where it was like, oh, you know what?
We had the cash.
Had you been thinking about it for a long time? You had the cash now.
The cash.
Okay.
I mean, it was a cash game, right? We either sell the company and get cash to do it, or we wait a little bit longer. We're on a good track. Oh, look, we're actually making real profits. So let's save them for what we want to do and then go spend that money to do the thing. So we just accomplished to the point of we reached the peak and then spent it. We went from 8th grade to freshman, right? Now we just got done with senior. Now we're back to freshman in college.
Sure. That's cool. Always about the level up. Well, for anybody who tracks with the show, you know, even if I go a little bit out of order, it's at this time that I'm going to dig in a little personal, man. Ask you a couple personal questions, and
Cool.
I'm prepared to pivot deeper or to pull back out, but I think we're going to be able to rock with it. I'm curious, whenever you transitioned out of the fire department, was there any identity crisis that you had to process through? Maybe explain to me the transition and what was it like? Was it immediate or was it over time? Were you ready? Like, walk me through that.
Yeah. So I had a couple transitional moments in that evolution. 10 years full-time fire department, firefighter, paramedic, rural suburban department, everything from cattle in the highway to shootings and stabbings to drug deals to bombs, car wrecks, fires to it's rural suburban. You get the gambit, right? So got a lot of cool experience, got to see a lot and develop and grow up a lot in that environment. Joined when I was 30. So did that full time 10 years. And then the franchise really started taking off. And it was the family kind of was like, hey, we need you here or you're going to commit there. Because I was really digging fire department, right? Bloomin' Blinds was never intended to be a franchise. It wasn't going to be this big empire taking over the window covering space. But it just became that. So when we started realizing that trajectory was on the horizon, it was like, look, you got to make a decision, bud. That's this or that. I had a new family and a new wife, and I was getting tired of wondering, when's the time going to come? And, it was a choice, and I picked franchising and Bloomin' Blinds. And it took 6 months off. I just straight left the fire department. There's a longer story there. The chief had a total misunderstanding about what the man on the ground was actually feeling. And he wrote a State of the Union letter to the whole department. And I replied all with, this is my 2 weeks. So that went to the whole department. And it started a tirade, kind of a storm, but it was necessary. It was the fire that wiped away the old debris and it was good.
Sure.
So, a lot of my guys became officers, so they weren't blackballed, and that was cool. So anyways, so I made the choice to join Bloomin' Blinds. And for the first 6 months, I just did the window covering thing, and it was setting up the first warehouse in Louisville, and kind of that was my focus. I had a lot of tasks to accomplish, so I didn't really have time to think about it. And then for the next 2.5, almost 3 years, I'd go back and volunteer in the evenings twice a week, just from the 7P to 7A shift. And then I'd come in and do franchising on the other days. And that kept me involved in both worlds enough to keep me happy. But then I realized I was the guy that I lamented in the department that didn't train as much, that wasn't committed. I'd come in and I'd watch TV and I'd go home. And I hated that guy when I was on the department. So I was like, I can't be that guy. So I got to go. And so that's when I quit. And I quit outright because I felt I was doing a disservice to the job. And so I was struggling with that identity after that. And I was like, what am I like? If you study Enneagrams, I'm a 2. So I'm itching to help something.
Sure. I'm a 3, by the way. Love Enneagram. I love Enneagram.
I only get kind of pissy when I'm not allowed to help. So I was like, I got to do something. And that's where
I'm a 3 wing 2. Sorry. I'm a 3 wing 2. So I rock with that. Yeah. Go ahead, man. Keep going.
And then I realized that I am doing something. That was we're always number 2, kind of the correlation of what the resemblances or the semblances between firefighting or paramedicine and franchising. It's like, I'm doing the same thing, right? In window coverings, you're getting limited information, right? I have a dispatch, a call center, right? So they're getting limited information from a customer, a call taker. They're processing the information and sending out a unit. In this case, it's a franchisee. He or she goes en route to that call or job, with limited information, expected to solve it by the end of it. And so they show up, something's broken or an issue, they fix or resolve that issue with an order, transaction, some other way, and then depart. And sometimes never see them again. Sometimes they go back again. Sometimes they're frequent flyers. But the correlations, I mean, that's exactly what a fire call or EMS call is. So seeing those parallels, it's like I don't have an identity crisis anymore because I'm of service to this entire thing. And so that's what became that culture piece of, you're not first, sorry, but they are. They bought the right to be first. We took their money and promised them that we would maintain and keep them first. So welcome aboard. If you're cool with that, jump on our rig because we're going to jobs.
Yo, thanks for listening this far. It's at this point in the episode that I want to talk about Streetwise franchising, teaching, training, building. Streetwise franchising. As a franchise consultant, it's my job, it's my absolute pleasure, and it's my mission to help aspiring entrepreneurs find, launch, and build their ideal business. I've been a franchise owner for almost a decade. I know what it means to struggle. I know what it means to build a team. If you're ready to get off of zero, if you're ready to build something for yourself, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's get the conversation started. Don't wait until tomorrow to build your future. It starts today. Streetwise franchising. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Let's get back to the episode. That is awesome. And I relate to that too. Just like not being an athlete anymore. And even before being a franchise owner myself, I was a teacher in the inner city and I studied for that. I did it for 5 years building up. And then we launched our franchise and I'm out there spraying bugs in backyards. And it's like, what am I doing right now?
All that effort.
But when I started building the business, I was still training people. I was still coaching people up.
Yep.
I was still taking individuals from where they were in their life and in their situation and providing them with an opportunity to be better for themselves and to do more. And the crazy thing about it is even what I'm doing now, which is so far removed, is still the same thing. I'm still doing all those things, doing this.
Mindset.
And so that's beautiful, man. Yeah, no, I love that. You kind of stole my thunder though, because I was going to ask you next, like what correlations and transitions, what lessons did you learn from being a firefighter that you're able to employ into this? But I mean, you kind of already answered that. You got anything else now that I officially asked it?
Yeah. At the end of the day, like nobody wants somebody to show up and not be able to solve the problem. Right? Whether you're not breathing, you're bleeding, you're on fire, whatever it is, like they want that guy to solve that problem. If I show up and your window covering doesn't give you the privacy you're looking for, or your children, or the darkness, or the glare control, or the look, or whatever else it is, right? You want somebody to show up and fix it. So there's a joke in the fire department. Nobody wants, some butt crack showing hillbilly jumping out of a, jalopy when they make a fire call. They want, a decathlete neurosurgeon jumping off a shiny red truck that looks brand new that can do anything they need at a moment's notice.
He better be. If my house on fire, he better be.
Damn straight. Well, if your blind's broken, why can't we approach it with the same level of professionalism and mindset of, I have to fix this before I go. And I got to bring all my tools, skills, abilities that our vans are rolling fire trucks. They're tools and resources to solve any problem, right? Whether it's a sale, a repair, a restring, whatever it is, we have the tools and resources on the rig that we show up with and the knowledge in the human capital that shows up with it to do whatever you need to do in the window covering space. It's no different than what the expectation was for a firefighter. And if that standard applies when lives and property are on the line, then it should apply when lives and property of the franchisee and their investment is on the line as well, because that's their life. Like it's typically their life savings, man. That's everything that they've ever acquired in their world. They just threw down and said,
"Come on,
I'm gambling on me and brother on you. Just do what you said. Build the brand. Support me." And it's very simple when you break it down. I mean, shit, you don't even have to break it down. It just is. I've heard people say recently that not all businesses can be franchises, and I want to call BS on that. I think every business can be franchised because a successful franchise has to do with education and support. If you had a successful business, right, it's got to be successful first, obviously. But if you have a successful business and you can educate someone how to do it and support them through it, and you have the resources necessary to maintain that, then I think you could franchise anything, because if you could truly teach and you can truly inspire and motivate people to carry that business the same way with the same feelings from somebody else in another area, well, that is franchising. I mean, look at how many different sectors and how many different industries franchising covers, but yet everyone still holds on to, well, it's only for some, not for others. I think that's gatekeeping a little bit. I think if you've done right, any business done right can be a successful franchise. And I think we should change the perspective. It's not the business so much as it's the operation and the execution of it that makes it successful, and the teamwork and the support. It's not just the model.
That's a beautiful thing. That was very well articulated. And I think I would agree that any business theoretically could be franchised. I definitely will stand firm that not everybody should build a franchise system, because just listening and to you right now, and from what I know about you guys, right, and just to see the way that you guys are building, it's just a beautiful thing, franchising when done right. And sometimes you have to see it done wrong in order to truly appreciate when it's being done right. And I think you guys are onto something. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think she said, I think it's a people issue, though, right?
There it is.
It's a people. I mean, people are always and still the most important thing in everything. How have you guys worked to build off of, the original family to build out the team? Because when I visited y'all's location, I was going to say it was packed. I mean, it wasn't packed. You guys have a nice little team right now, though. Like, the numbers are rising. Like, how did you, obviously, like, when you got the cash, you can expand and you can build and you can grow. How did you start breaking off into little chains and building that team out now that supports all your franchisees? There was a bit of attrition. No joke. It took a few to get through, but again, correlations to the FD, you hire 11, you keep 3, but those are the 3, right? Like one was the warrior, right? Like those are the 3 you wanted. So the team that you saw is the team that we're taking to the playoffs, right? That's
all right.
And they're family. They're not a team. And we tell them that. We call them that. We tell them what that means. Like there was the thing on LinkedIn where somebody, I didn't realize I was picking a fight with some thought leader from Norway or whatever. But she's like, stop calling your team family. And I was like on the pillow, like LinkedIning on my chest early morning. I'm like, I couldn't disagree more. It's about how you treat people. But that's what, for us, it's like, no, it's not my sister. It's not my brother. But I treat you like I treat them. I respect you the same way I give you the same leash that we give each other. Like if I'm asking you to do something new and I don't give you the leash to learn and to fail enough times to do it right, I'm doing nobody any favors. I'm the asshole I always feared to be, right? Like if you really want to give them the time to learn and develop, then you got to stand back and give them the room to do that. And that comes with a cost. And that was that cash, right? We knew people are everything. And without good people, we will go right back into doing those task level jobs and cannot scale the brand. So that's again, you got me with the good one that I want to dive into, because I think a lot of franchisees themselves kind of have a hard time because they might have had a bad boss. Now they want to be their own boss. And that's why they get into business ownership, and they have a hard time building a healthy team culture and a culture of development. How do you guys, because again, on the other side too, before I get too far into it, a lot of these guys, you're launching a business, you might not have a lot of cash to build out a team. But I think you guys do something interesting with your franchisees that not a lot of people do. How do you coach your franchisees whenever they're launching their business to slowly and organically, when the business is ready, expand and build out a bigger team? It's planning and strategy, right? Think about if you think with the end in mind, right? All the cliches actually don't mean shit until applied and executed on the ground, right? So when they start, they're here in training looking to be the owner operator, and we're already starting them. Hey, what are you looking for in an employee? Like what kind of character traits do you want to work with? What's most important to you? Oh, I'm a long ways from an employee. Like how long? Oh, 9 months at least. Ask anybody. It'll take you a year to find the right employee. So we start them very early on in the process. thinking about scaling their operation, thinking about growing into it, introducing them to the recruiter we have in the window covering space and making those connections early and getting them to look at their business from the very beginning as a scalable operation, but knowing, presented right out of the gate, that it's required that you have on the ground knowledge and be the seat in the van for a period of time. That executive model controversy it doesn't work here. The connection level is so important from the provider, the dealer to the consumer, that it has to be just as tangible from the ownership to the team level. They're in people's homes. They're in their children's rooms, right? Like if they can't make that personal connection with the homeowner, it's just simply not going to work. And so that's a unicorn, right? The guy that's technically capable, that's socially capable, that's emotionally mature enough to handle those situations and make those decisions, that takes a while to find. And once you start lining out those peculiarities of the persona that really need to be in place to maximize the potential of every opportunity, you need time to find that. So I hope I answered your question correctly, but in my opinion, that's starting them with that mindset from the very beginning, is not letting them fall into their own rut of in the business versus on the business.
Sure. I see the value in that. I also see a lot of other concepts, for better or for worse. I won't say it on the mic right now, but they allow owners, new franchisees, to hire a general manager, and they can kind of be in the middle. But you guys, I guess the reasons that you don't want your franchisees to do that, your reasoning seems universal. So is there something different about your specific niche of a business, or is that just the philosophy that you guys have for building out a business, period, that an owner should be the one figuring it out, learning with the hands-on, engaging with the customer in that way? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, there's definitely a worldview that shares that latter perspective. That we believe and feel that is the correct way to do business. If somebody engages us as a franchisee, we'll share that opinion with them. I mean, there's a reason you're buying a franchise from us. Hopefully you value that opinion and how that parlays into this business model.
Yeah, no doubt.
But at the same time, we have franchisees who they hire a GM, but they're engaged daily. Maybe it's just a touch point every morning, but they're constantly engaged with their GM who's managing their team. And so that it's the engagement level that has to be maintained. And the requirement of being in the van it's not a contractual requirement. It's a best practices, if you will. Like if you want to do this the right way, put your butt in the van for at least 6 months. Take it all in, right? You'll know what a tilter costs. You'll know what it feels like to work in the sun for 8 hours in somebody's huge plate glass windows, right? Like you'll know that suffering that your employees will go through. And there's a management level that gives you an insight to the pushes and pulls of the thing that you otherwise wouldn't have. But there's an empathy or sympathy level to your employees that I think is helpful from a team building culture perspective, that they know you know the job too, that you're willing or capable of helping and stepping in. And that creates a unity, a camaraderie or brotherhood, if you will, that outside of those situations, right? The brotherhood is built in the work, is what we used to say. And you can sit around the fire station all you want, but until it's pressure tested in an ideal H environment, like you don't really know if that dude's got your back. So that's, when the rubber meets the road, that's when it really matters. And we kind of show them that from the beginning.
I see that so much too in my own experience. And my guys, there's nothing that my guys can do in the field that I haven't already done with a good heart and with a good spirit. Any mistake that they could make, I've already made it. And there is a level of camaraderie, and something that I'm about to start putting out on LinkedIn that might be a little controversial is I'm going to flip it back on its head of, hey, semi-absentee opportunities, semi-passive, semi-involved, whatever you want to call it. These opportunities actually, they do exist in franchising. My business, Mosquito Joe, is a semi-passive. I work 5 hours a week in that business, and it runs just fine without me. It just took me over 5 years to do it.
Yeah.
So it exists. It exists 100%. I didn't do it from day one. I was in that truck the first 2.5 years, did every single treatment the first 2.5 to 3 seasons before we started, really learning how to scale it out. And somebody could do it quicker than I did. I wasn't the fastest at it, but it takes time. And that's the point. That's what people need to understand.
Yep. It's a journey.
And yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Okay. Question.
Just go.
Who is more of a AI nerd? Like which one of y'all is it? Like who leads the forefront?
That's my fault.
So it's not Kelsey, it's you. Cause man, he talked me up and down about AI at the conference, man. We were talking I'm into it though. Like I'm into it. I was sitting there learning and soaking it all up, but he had me confused. So you're the one.
So it's an interesting correlation to my kind of history at the fire department, as I was able to start kind of a fire and then leave. Like I was able to start this upswell of thought process, I guess, thought leadership, if you will, to, an abused term, I think, and then kind of step out of the way and let the momentum kind of go. And with the AI thing, it started with Springboard back in 23 and Ryan Hicks and those guys doing an M&M cover with AI and the Fishman Camp. And then trying to chase different little avatars or, Gen AI tools or whatever for the design space, and trying to find all these random pieces to bolt together and create a system. And then it was like, wait a second, I think it's time that we start looking at our own system. And so that just kind of, I got permission from my brothers to kind of go explore and wander in this new space, and a dog with a bone. I came back with something that everybody thought was pretty cool. And so once we pulled the trigger on it, everybody dove in. And so he's an expert, or not an expert, but an expert in ours now because he's invested in it, right? Like so did I start it? Yes. But am I building it? No. Our friends at RevScale are building it. And we're all invested in it at every level. The thought process, the mindset has changed in the office. The capacity of what's possible has changed. It's a new level of capacity because we've just adopted these tools as bolt-ons without the pride of, I can't do it. There's no way we can do this stuff. I mean, these are robots and machines, and we're petty little humans.
The idea of building out a data lake based on years and years of data specific to Bloomin blinds that can learn from itself from a marketing perspective, from a client interface, from a franchisee to system interface, just blows my mind, folks. Yeah. Again, I got some firsthand tutorials on this stuff. Super interesting. I haven't, man. No, it was all Kelsey. Kelsey was just hitting me up with this.
Tim's the AI technical services agent that is all Kevin's downloads. Little in training, the mythical creature or the mythical little child that does all the damage to the blinds that we all our hypotheticals are built off of in training. That character's name is Little Timmy. So it's always been Little Timmy for the 10 years we've been a franchise. Kevin's always used that reference. And so the AI technical services agent is Tim, because Little Timmy grew up after having to fix him all the time. We hired his butt and made him the technical services agent. Tim is
Got it. I love it.
Hello, this is Tim from Bloomin Blinds. Do you have a sales or repair question? And so that's all that data lake feeding a verbal chatbot that our franchisees can interact with 24/7. That is that net output for that data lake and that SLM.
That's cool. So that's even an extra piece that I hadn't heard yet. Well, man, this has been great. This has been great. I'm loving where we're going. I gotta respect your time. The stuff that you said earlier about like the IFA, that's actually really interesting to me. So real quick, just like, why is your role in engaging with the IFA important? Would you recommend franchisees being involved in the IFA, brokers and consultants? Like, what is your general opinion? That way we kind of like, I'm looking for understanding just for myself and where I fit in this bigger picture.
Yeah, I'm not a spokesman for them. I'm chasing their tail to try and participate because I feel obliged to give back. And that drives my motivation for the most part, is knowing what they do, how few do what they do on behalf of so many. There's roughly 50 people at the IFA that represent almost $900 billion in revenue and 8 million jobs or so, or something, just over 8 million jobs in the franchising sectors. or under the franchising business model. So when you have NLRB joint employer issues or overtime pay issues that stand to potentially undermine that franchise model that somebody wrote a contract with me and gave me money to do business in a certain way on, when those things come under risk from a written pen of a rule at a government agency, the IFA stands in the way and says, hold on a second, we've got this entire business model that is doing business on this certain way. Let's make sure you're making good decisions that support the entire business model, not just reactionary decisions based on one or two of your political friends that are, we're unhappy. And so, which is a lot of the recent stuff was from the comment period. A lot of the comments were just the negative Nancy's in the room. And so the politicians, with being politicians in all their glory, said, okay, we'll take that on, and then started making rules without a full understanding of the model. And so a group like the IFA is our special interest, franchisees' special interest, and represents a business model at a much higher scale, like franchisors do, being able to do manufacturing or whatever. They have the resources to make governmental relationships to help maintain franchising as we know and love it. So
do you think for even franchisees, like, do franchisees show up? Like who's actually there? Like what support and opportunities to get involved in the IFA even exist? Because like nobody's giving me a call from the IFA or shooting me up on LinkedIn and like, hey, come to this convention. So like, how do I get plugged in? How does somebody else get plugged in?
Well, the real answer to that is guys like me are supposed to tell you about it, and then, hey, come join me, right? Come with me, because 50 people simply can't get to the millions of people that are in this industry. So really that's what I'm trying to do with my time and energy, is be like, hey, guys, this is what it is, and this is how you're supposed to do it. Like, because we realize that we're really engaged in two industries, and we have to do both equally well: the window covering space and our knowledge and capacity there, and then also as effective and proficient franchisors, we have to engage the franchising industry. And the IFA doesn't want to admit it, but they are the collective umbrella of the entire franchising industry. So our brand lift and benefit from just simply going and participating and joining committees and being on the planning committee for the Emerging Franchiser Conference, right, gives me conversation points that I wouldn't otherwise have with some of the greatest minds in franchising. So from a knowledge capacity, right, like Ryan Zink said it, right, you are the some of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Well, I'm trying to spend my time with the royalty of franchising that's done it for 40 years really, really well, and just absorb as much as I can. But really, it's a debt of gratitude. Like, I didn't know. And honestly, we talked smack about the IFA for our first few years of existence. We didn't know. We were naive. Same thing, right? Like, why would I pay all that money? I can do a lot more with that on Facebook or social or whatever. But then I realized what they did. And I was like, I got to participate. Like, if I'm making money off this business model and they're out there protecting it, then I should do my part and at least hold up a castle wall.
Nice. Well, that's great, man. It's a great plug. I appreciate that. I think I gained a little value from hearing that. Like, I learned something I didn't know, and I'm sure somebody's going to listen to it and get just this planting seeds, man. That's all we're doing, planting seeds. Well, as we wrap this thing up, man, just got a couple more for you. Like, when thinking about somebody that I always ask this towards the end, but somebody that's having a hard time getting off of zero, maybe taking that first step, taking that leap and doing something that's a little bit different. How do you coach somebody up, just off of your own experience and what you've been able to see, being around some great people?
We need to stop overselling it as a leap. 1% every day can be a step, right? Just progress. It doesn't have to be a massive leap across. It can be a little incremental step. Take a step, do something. Like, no one can make you. So if you can't leap, then tiptoe, right? If you can't tiptoe, crawl, freaking go. Like, I mean, That would be it. Like, and that's, again, I cut my teeth in a world that didn't care, right? The situation was the situation. And you said long ago, you'd show up to do it. So if you already said you'd show up to do it and the situation needs you to now get off, go, brother, it's fulfill your promise or get out of the way. Like, there's no middle ground.
Love it. Love it. Well, man, Chris, What did I miss? What else did we not talk about you want to hit on, man? I thought this was great.
Let us deploy the AI, and then we'll talk about the point cloud and changing the home services game.
That's coming.
Or globally.
That's a great drop. That's a great drop for next time, man. That was awesome. That was awesome.
I'll save it for you.
Well, to the listener, man, listen to this one at least twice. Grab your notepad the second time through if you didn't have it the first time. Maybe you're on the car, driving around, running. That's when I listen to my podcast. But until next time, man, stay home. Oh, wait, before I forget, this location is probably available in your market. If it's not, and you need window coverings, hit these guys up. They're great. They're phenomenal. The service, you heard it here first. Call them up, get a quote, have them help you out. But if you're actually interested in investing in this business as a potential franchise, a business for yourself, let me know. I obviously have great rapport with these guys. I'll introduce you to the team and we'll get you set up. But until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.
Thanks, man.
All right, everybody. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Hey, if this episode added any value to your life at all, please like it. Share it, give me a 5-star review. It's the only way that this show is going to gain traction and help more people achieve their dreams. If you're ready to start your franchise journey, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's set up a time to talk. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.